What's going on, y'all? It's J Smo Reviews here, back at it again with another video, man. Bringing you guys my recap for Trenches, Pray for My Enemies, which was, you'll be seeing this, I'm recording this like an hour or two after the event. You guys will be seeing this tomorrow morning, so the day after. But is an event that I liked, and it lost a couple battles going in, which we'll talk about here in a second before we start recapping the card itself. But you only ended up with 6 battles out of the 8, but I thought they were efficient with it. Stream was crispy, like everything, pretty much on the production side. I have a lot of respect for how fast Trenches moves through the events. I mean, it went 5 hours damn near on the dot today. And even that felt like longer than usual. Left room so people could watch basketball, things of that nature. But with that being said, 6 battles. I thought there was a couple mid battles that we'll talk about a little bit, but for the most part, it was either great performances out of a battle or some really good back and forth. So I thought with the 6, they were really efficient. But like I said, they lost a couple battles. First one was Riggs versus Jay Murda. Apparently Riggs was there, but Jay Murda had to call out last second. Not gonna lie, it wasn't a battle I was looking that much forward to either way, so it not going down was kind of just a piece of card filler going away, even though Riggs does a lot of great work for the Trenches, so unfortunate he couldn't perform when contracted to. And then the other big one is Ace Amin versus Jay Moore, one of the few grudge matches of the card that, I said going into it, I was so excited because the battle had hate, right? Like, you guys see, I do my whole thing. I like animosity. I like some hate in the battle. That's what gives it a good feel. But I fear this battle might have had a little too much hate. Little bit too much hate. And at the end of the day, there is some grudges that go outside of the ring that you can redirect, and it makes for great energy within a battle. And there's some things that happen outside of the ring, some grudges that are real life problems and really can't be handled within, type of the cooperation it takes to get a rap battle done, to sign on with an opponent, even if you don't like each other, promo safely, get up there, execute the battle safely, right? And there's all types of rumblings of things that may have happened at the face-off that stopped this battle from happening. You can go out there and find all the details if you want. Some of it just really doesn't need to be public. One of the many battle rap drama situations where there's things being said and going public that really doesn't benefit either artist when it gets to a certain point. But obviously, best way to put it is that things went past rap to the point that battle didn't end up going down. You can go survey all the details and opinions of who is right and who is wrong, but at the end of the day, battle ended up going down, right? So that was one of the bigger, I think, selling points, the grudge behind that, the history with Jay Moore and Ace Amin. But either way, they didn't end up happening, so it is what it is. So you ended up having 6 battles on the card, and we'll start from the first one of the night. And that first battle of the night was Snake Eyes versus Tex, which I actually didn't get to do predictions for when I had first predicted the card. This hadn't been added to it yet. It did after the fact, like a week or two later, but ended up being the opener. I thought it was a perfect tone setter for the night. Like many battles here, even though it varies in the level, it's not an Ace Amin versus Jay Moore type of grudge, but Tex and Snake had their own grudge. This has been building up the back and forth, and I thought that they delivered on it. The first round particularly, I thought Tex was good, and I think this is the best Tex performance to date, but his weakest round in comparison is his first. I just thought it was good. Some good jabs here and there, just like getting comfortable. Snake was styling on him in the first, and really these first 2 rounds from Snake is like high quality Snake Eyes material, very locked in. His pockets are there. He took the energy to a different level in round 1 than Tex did. His content was good. There was genuine haymakers in there. I thought Snake clearly won the first round of this battle. I thought it was like Tex had a solid round 2, but I just think it speaks to how good Snake was in the first. You get to the second round of the battle for this. Many people, it's going to come down to this round. I think Snake had a couple more bombs. He wrapped second. So I thought he had a couple more bombs at the beginning of his round, right? That really kind of like you would think would put him on pace to win the round. But the second half of his second tailed off, while if you look at Texas' second, it's better than his first round. It has a couple of its own haymakers, which is kind of what he lacked in the first, and where Snake Eyes caught him as those peak moments. But I thought Tex was a little more consistent. Like, he didn't have the first or probably even the second biggest moment of the round, but he was really cooking all throughout. And from beginning to end, I thought was way more efficient, had less dry spots than Snake, probably landed a few more bars over totality. Now, if you prefer those big peaks from Snake with kind of the second that tails off a bit, but it's still about that the high of the round, Snake had that, but for me, the efficiency had me edging the second round of Tech, so I had it 1-1, and then the third round of the battle is the clearest round, even though the first was clear too, but this is all Tech's, by far his best round of the battle. I thought this is where he started actually matching Snake's rapping ability. I think Texas, signature Philly flow, right, where he comes from, he shows that a lot, and that's usually his biggest strength. He didn't really show that into the third. I thought Snake had kind of out-rapped him just on not the content, but the rapping portion. Until that third, I thought Snake's third was his weakest round. I just thought Tex kind of took off, and that third, one of the best rounds he's rapped. Overall, one of the best performances he's had. I had Tex winning first and third, or not first and third, second and third round of the battle. There is going to be some people that argue Snake in the first two. I'm not mad at it. I thought this was a good Snake Eyes performance. I thought it was, like I said, best Tex performance yet. And it goes to show kind of the sturdy vet that Snake Eyes is right now. And then on top of that, how Tex is improving battle to battle like many of the Trenches talents. And just was impressed with him. If you got Snake winning, I'm not mad. I had Tex, and I thought it was the second best battle of the night. After that was Dre Majesty versus Prezi. We don't really have to go round for round for this one. This was an ass-kicking. Dre Majesty got after it and won 3-0 versus Prezi. I just don't think Prezi is very good, but this was an interesting challenge for Dre Majesty. I think that out of all the Trenches talents that people believe in, he's the one that has probably the most to earn from fans. I think people automatically, they didn't really build Jay Moore. Probably isn't even going to rap on the Trenches anymore after what happened with him and Eazy. But like Jay Moore was that first one that people kind of associated with the Trenches, right? But then you had Muwop, King, and Tex, who I think everyone kind of flocked to, and people thought Dre was nice, but he hasn't gotten like the push, the buzz, the same opportunities as some of those other guys. And I think this battle, Dre looked the most comfortable he's been. I think if anything, while I've liked a lot about his game, he'll rush his delivery. It's very like you could see kind of the newness, but he's so big on learning. He speaks on it all the time, watching film. Very humble guy, just easy to root for. And this battle, he looked comfortable. He was like pacing himself to the haymakers. He was mixing in the comedy. I just thought his timing was the best it's been. He just looked the most like a pro battle rapper tonight out of any of his performances. And it wasn't just flashes. This is a full 3-round performance you can really hang your hat on if you're Dre. And dealing with a grudge, how him and Prezi went back and forth, even though he clearly has more talent and should be getting bigger, tougher opportunities going forward to really test what his ceiling can be, this was like, all right, if someone's kind of talking shit, getting in your ear, trying to annoy you, are you going to perform through that and not let them get in their head? I thought Dre did a great job of that and just quite simply won every round of the battle. And now I want to see him versus kind of the same opportunity Tex got versus like a Mac Myron, and I'd have to think longer. I keep saying this of what opponents would be good for Dre, but something like that. I think someone said to me recently, maybe Holmesy and Dre, that could be dangerous, but it's time for Dre to take a dangerous matchup. I think the Baby Jameses, battle Baby James. He battled Nakeem the Prophet over there in iBattle. He battled Prezi. I want to see him get like a name value vet that has the possibility to maybe smoke him or teach him a lesson, because I think that danger will keep bringing Dre to the top of his game. But he was one of the performers of the night in terms of, he probably had the biggest win by like margin of victory. But I got nothing positive to say about Dre and what he did. And then also at the halfway point, you had Coffee Brown versus Bonnie. This was, I said there was a couple battles that were more regular. I think this is one of those. I think there was a worse battle on the night. But I just thought the ladies were cool. This is really about Coffee handling business. It's become so regular, it almost gets overlooked because it's easy to say. But you just turn around, Coffee, after how active she was last year and good, and now start this year, she's got the Perstavia battle, which was fantastic. Even if she lost in a judge battle, it's one of the best battles of the year, man or woman. She's got the Swamp W, 3-0'd Swamp on T-Top's card. And now I had her 2-1, if not 3 over Bonnie. I edged Bonnie the second. But you could argue Coffee got that. I think she cleared the first round. I feel like she cleared the third round. I thought Bonnie was decent. Like I said, I got her winning the second. Thought she took some good angles. I know the STD angles were kind of played out, even though they were on both sides, but the kind of like scheme that she did out of it, I thought was pretty decent. But Bonnie had some good stuff in the second. I just think Coffee's a better battle rapper, and wasn't even at her best tonight, and still was able to get the W pretty clear. I'm forgetting one more battle that Coffee had early here in 2025 that was really good, but she's been, like I said, Prestavia, Swamp, now to this. I think this is probably like the least talked about of any of those three, but it was just a quick, easy win. She is one of the best women in the world. She has consistently last few years been one of the 20 best battle rappers in the world. She handled business like she was supposed to, and overall got one of the lighter, but definitely a clear W in my opinion for Coffee on the night. From there, we can talk about the battle of the night, and this was, for me, heavily, if it wasn't be the main event, I said this would be the battle of the night, and it ended up being Danny Myers versus King. Just a bar fest on paper going in, and I think, King had said, and I talked about this in my predictions, and a big reason I chose King was the motivation that Danny is on his Mount Rushmore. No matter how much you personally feel about that statement, King is highly influenced by Danny Myers, which you can see in his style, and has, like, the utmost respect. And Danny kind of returned that favor of this, like, clear, almost understudy, and you end up getting a great Danny Myers, which you've seen more of this year. Was critical of him last year, but the Quest battle in Apollo, now this King battle, Danny was, like, back to looking like Danny Myers, and then, of course, King, seizing the opportunity, was one of the best versions of himself, which ends up making Danny Myers and King, by far, in my opinion, battle of the night. The first 2 rounds, especially back and forth, were great, and some people are going to argue both of these rounds for Danny Myers. I'm not mad. He was on 100. Very focused. The content was good more than anything. It didn't feel kind of like just putting punches together for the sake of putting punches together. I do feel like Danny in the last year was kind of like in a formulaic type of state in the performances he was giving. You could really tell the respect level and where he brought his level to for King. And I ended up edging Danny the second, although I like King second. But I gave King the first round of the battle. I edged it to him, still a debate, but I thought that was... I wish I had more bars to quote here. They had so many punches and haymakers back and forth. King at the top of his first had 2 fantastic rebuttals. Top of his second, he had this like ranch bottle rebuttal that was absolute garbage. Also, in Danny Myers' fashion, as his understudy, right, or someone that's influenced by him, King's rebuttal style isn't like rebuttal when there's a good one there. He throws out like 8, and some will land and some won't. A lot like Danny Myers, but I had them splitting the first 2 rounds, with King in the first and Danny in the second. And third round, I thought King was magnificent. I thought it was his best round of the battle, and I think it was the best round of the battle from either of them. One of the best rounds of the night, where I think Danny had a decent third, couple more stumbles, and King took this angle-heavy approach, really hard on like the wrapping pockets, like layered writing and scheming within that. He just went for a guy that's like an aggressive puncher, over the top energy. He really went into his detailed, surgical character assassination, career breakdown, rapping like very like pen style, and like it like real emphasis on the rapping ability and multisyllabics. Just a completely different version of King, where you're going to see people saying, King was good in the first 2, right? The punching, the back to back, but the third is where he's like a different level of dangerous, because he's doing everything. He's rapping in different pockets, giving so you don't know when the punch is coming up. He's punching, but he's got little layered writing and references throughout, and he's really tailored. It's not just name flips or anything like that. He's going at specific aspects of Danny's career, and even saying like, I don't care if the crowd feels it as long as you feel it, talking about the round and to his opponent. I just thought it was a great example of King at his best, and I've been saying his angle-heavy thirds are what he's special at. It's something else that Eunice is special at, which is why you're going to hear a lot of King Eunice again after this battle. Not, their careers don't fully revolve around this battle, just goes to show how bad people wanted it at some point. But I actually had King winning this battle, first and third clear, first edge. Some people, like I said, will debate Danny in the first 2. I'm not mad. It's a battle that, similar to what I said about Tex and Snake, where both of them walk away looking good. Another battle, these 2 definitely both walk away from the battle looking really, really good. It's great for King. It's great for Danny. And for the second card, from the Chrome card versus Cortez to here versus Danny Myers, King is stacking up them battle of nights, or still being one of the biggest talked about parts of the event when he's a part of it. So props to him, and props to them overall. I mean, really, really good battle. The return of Rosenberg Raw, Rosenberg now versus True Foe. I thought this was, in comparison, the worst battle of the night. I don't think it was bad. Maybe, I don't know if it was an energy thing, because even Swamp and Eazy was really good after, but I just thought it was okay. I think that the best round of the battle is Froze's third. It's Foe's third is also pretty good, but I walked away really thinking like the one thing I'll take away from this battle is Rosenberg had a fantastic third round, where you can say he was in his vintage pockets all battle. Speaking of that rapping ability, which I think is big for these trenches events, I think those crowds really appreciate like the way you're piecing the rhymes together, the momentum you're building. I thought Froze did a great job of that. I thought his content was just weak in the first. I also thought Foe's content was pretty weak in the first. I had Foe winning, but it was like one of those like the battle just wasn't good after both of them finishing their first. But I had Foe up 1-0 edge, but you could debate that. Then from there, I had Froze just winning the second round. Thought it was better, but not great, so better aspects. And then by the third, they're both the best version of themselves. But I had said, if they're going to be the best versions, if it does reach 100, I do think Froze is a better battle rapper at that point. So we kind of weathered the storm of like, you know, it was available for Foe to get those first 2 rounds, but he wasn't too great, only split it, and then Froze really kicks into overdrive in the third. Just kind of closes the battle as he should. I definitely think it was a respectable return for Froze. The back and forth him and Foe have had for him to have his best round in the third, and I think pretty clearly closed that battle. Some people are debating that Foe won the battle. I personally don't see it, but I don't think Foe was bad either, so if you want to, I'm not mad at it. And I know going in, I had Foe winning. I know Froze wasn't the happiest about that, and even though I don't think this was some world-beating performance, I do think Froze clearly won the battle. If there's a couple more battles, I know he wants the Chilla matchup. I think Chilla and Froze would be a nasty style clash, but who knows? You know, whatever motivates you. I know the commentator comment from Chilla on Cody got at him a little bit. Maybe that's what kind of inspired this comeback to begin with, but we'll see where Froze goes from here. Just thought it was a pretty clean 2-1 W, second and third for him if you want to debate the 30. One of the more least impressive things to happen on the night, but still impressive because wins are wins. And then that leaves you with the main event, which is Eazy the Block Captain versus Swamp. And I was thinking probably not going to do a bar for bar on this one just because I thought it was such a really clear battle. Granted, I thought Nitty and Daylight was clear, and that got a bar for bar, a little bit of a different level of importance, all due respect. But even with the grudge match this was, I had this battle of the night going in, and 1 round in, it looked to be following that script. I thought Eazy had a good first, not a haymaker heavy first, but already laying the lines of character assassination. I think he gets better angling as the battle goes on, but he really went like more jabs, like bar, clever bar, witty bar, clever bar, witty bar, building up. And I thought he had a consistent first. So if people still, a little bit of the angling starts right and really bar for bar more than any of his other rounds. I thought Eazy was pretty back to back. So there's going to be people that still debate Eazy in the first, but I love Swamp's first round. I think it is a great round, and this is why I thought the battle was heading in that direction where he was landing more of those peaks than Eazy, and even with a bit of a shorter round than Eazy's, it felt like he was as efficient and matched him. The bars in between, the pistol whip, you can still face the chrome. The little accent almost rebuttal at the end where Eazy had talked about his accent. He's like talking about my accent, but you should really know over here the talk's different. Obviously playing off of Eazy's slogan. A couple more big bars in there. I just thought Swamp had a better first, so I edged him the first. I was like, all right, Eazy was good, but Swamp was like near great. So this is a great start to the battle. But then from there, I had Eazy 2-1 going in, and I feel like a lot of the reasons that I had Eazy winning came to life as this battle went on. So you get to the second round of the battle, and I had said if it becomes an angle fest, while they both have a lot of stuff on the table, I think Eazy is a better angler than Swamp, and he could get him in that department. The second round is more of an angle fest than the first. Eazy really getting into the character breakdown, the career breakdown of Swamp on URL, and Eazy leaving, and that opening up opportunities for Swamp, him trying to give him game, but him not taking it, and all. I thought he really set up all that like career business choices parts really well and just executed it better than Swamp did. I just think that that's one of the first things playing through. It's going to be a battle of angles. Who's the better angler? I think Eazy did a great job of executing that. So he won the second clear. I had Swamp in the first by an edge, pretty confidently, but still by an edge. Eazy took the second clear. Better material, no other way to put it. You get to the third round of the battle, Eazy's third is better than his second, and this one has a lot of everything. He's still angling, still the character assassination. He's barring up with Swamp. The drug talk is mixed throughout. A little bit comedy and performative as well. So he's like really is a showman, giving the full arsenal. He even had a segment going at the boss a little bit, which the whole drama with her and Bonnie, I'm not really going to talk about, but obviously I'm sure that's going to be a big conversation, kind of a tough night in the camp. But he took some time to really go at the boss with the rivalry that camp has shared with Eazy, the spaces and back and forth. I feel like this is all in a fair game and expected. So really, a really great third. You could debate better than the second, but it's like right there, strong round. So you need a strong third from Swamp, and he's starting off good. He's barring up, getting his pockets, but before he could get some real momentum going, he does choke. And some people are going to say it's not a choke. I feel like this is now debated every battle because you have some people trying to open up the door of you can win with a choke, mostly because their favorites that they're rooting for more times than not choked. So they want to work around it. They want to pick and choose. We know the nature of the sport. We're not allowing that over here. You choke, you lose the round. But he lost it. Couldn't get it. He did his whole Swamp thing. He's like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Fuck, man, I lost it. And then he ran it back from the beginning all the way to here, and he eventually got it back, but it's like a minute and a half that, like, we didn't move forward in raps. Can't be having that. So he got it back, and his material was decent still in the third. He wasn't beating it, even with these nonsense rules that don't exist that you can win with a choke. He wasn't beating the round either way material-wise, and then he automatically loses because he choked. So it's just one of those situations where Swamp went a little bit downhill. His first was his best. Second was his second best by default because of the mess-up in the third. And then obviously he does mess up in the third. And that goes to show he's back to stumbling, it seems like, and messing up a little bit here and there. Could that be because of the back-to-back kind of bookings? You know, I'd said in my last thoughts about this battle, the A-Ward battle that he is coming up. Having Chess 3 weeks before this, I think it might have caught up to him where I know this battle is important to him, and he said he's got real-life stuff going on, so maybe that's also taken away from it. Obviously, what's going on with the artist as a person outside of the ring. Rip Miss Badass, who's a big fan of Swamp. Like, things like that can have you on a heavy heart, but with a battle this big and how I've grown to trust Swamp in his biggest battles, I didn't think he'd kind of revert back to a situation like this. I didn't predict for Swamp to choke, but I thought it could happen if he was too active. I think that might have played a factor here. So it's a really good W for Eazy in a grudge match. He's had bigger Ws. It's not like career changing, but Swamp is a very formidable opponent. This is a valuable W for a guy who, after having such a win streak and making winning so abnormally normal, like you don't see people win clear at the rates Eazy was for so long. He went through his skid where he's had a couple more losses. He's coming off the loss to Shotgun Suge, even though it's a great battle. Turns around, clear W versus Swamp before he goes into his next one. I think it's great for the momentum. And as for Swamp, rough start to the year so far. The Coffee round loss, talked about that. Have him losing here versus Eazy. Him and Chess was a good battle, debatable battle. A lot of people have Swamp, so not a bad look. I personally had Chess. How rare does that happen? But really good back and forth. And I had heard that he lost to Marv and he wasn't maybe even clean in that battle. So slower start from Swamp after such a great year last year. Doesn't mean rethink everything. Doesn't mean the sky's falling, but it is something to acknowledge. If we're going to acknowledge when he's in his highs, top 3, right now, going through a bit of a tougher patch and hoping that he can find himself in his next battle or two and get right back on track. But that is my full thoughts there, pretty much for Pray for My Enemies. If I had to choose a performer of the night, probably go Eazy. I think quality-wise, maybe Dre's in terms of like the completeness across 3 rounds. He'd be in the convo, but I think Eazy had the bigger battle, tougher challenge, tougher grudge, and still delivered of that level. So I'd have Eazy, the block captain, as my performer of the night. And then for battle of the night, I would have Danny versus King pretty clear. Little honorable mention for Texan Snake because it was good too, but I think Danny and King just stole the show. So those are some of like the bigger winners of the night. Had Coffee winning versus Bonnie. Obviously had Dre Majesty over Prezi. Great performance for him. All the Trenches cats really like the roster as well as Eazy. Like Tex, Dre, and King all performed really, really well. Stock boosting performances. Of course, Eazy gets the W. And overall, I'd say 8 out of 10 event maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like not enough that anything crazy happened, but what they could deal with the 6 battles they had left, I thought they pulled it off pretty well. And Froze won, of course, as well versus Trufo. But now I want to hear your guys' opinions in the comments down below. I'm sure Eazy and Swamp is one of the biggest topics, of course, as it should be. So how do you feel about Eazy winning? What do you think Eazy? Who do you think Eazy Eazy's next opponent should be, and what do you think this win does for him, and vice versa for Swamp. I think it's a tough L, even with a great first and some decent material throughout, but do you think this losing streak, this little bit of a skid that he's having, how much do you think it affects him? Who do you want to see him battle next? And then any thoughts on the rest of the card, the Trenches talent, any of the vets who showed out, please let me know. Let's have some dialogue in the comments down below, man. But it's been J Smo Reviews again here, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to catch you on the next one, man. Peace.